Blizzard. I think that needs to be refreshed. Oh, there we go. There we go. Look at the camera. Have to be careful, you know. If Apollo garners too much attention, then the players will start to feel jealous that the action isn't all about them. Thanks for the headset that I won here on your channel one time. I'm using it since I got it. I love it. Oh, cool. You're welcome, Monstro. And thank you. So we have a TVZ set up here in the top right as the green Terran. It is InZaNe. In the bottom left as the blue Zerg, it's Basset. Basset. Did I say automaton for battlecruiser builds? Because I definitely meant this map when I was thinking of it. And for some reason, this one's very popular, along with maybe one other one. And we might see that from InZaNe. He was doing some mech versus Lycanine, but, you know, was that because he knew some specific timings to hit after their best of 3? That was the last game. So we had 2 other games to try and figure Lycanine out. Or is that something that InZaNe likes to do in general? I mean, I've cast him maybe a few times, but honestly, not much. I recognize the name. It's a very, you know, easy name to remember after all. But I don't really remember what his style is, so we're gonna find out together. Now, Basset, now that's someone I don't know anyone about. None. Who? Her? Egg? I don't know. And I don't know if InZaNe knows either. Basset is GM on Europe, so it's possible that they ladder close to each other's MMR, but I don't know. So InZaNe's going for an SCV scout, something that you would do to an opponent that you think does often cheese, but also to someone you don't know. You gotta figure that out. And all he does is scout there's a hatchery, so he just goes right back on home. I think if you're gonna SCV scout and there's something to you know, alert you and make you panic, I think you should try and block the 3rd hatchery, but oh well. Freebie Overlord over here. That's good for InZaNe. See if you get any drones with this Reaper, just double whammy. But yeah, so Basset, the reason, you know, I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, like, why is it such a great match then? Well, I don't know if it'll be. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. But he did defeat Stefano, and while that might be a little bit clearer as to why, because Stefano's EVZ has always been his weak point. Oh, so close to getting that drone. It was a 2-1, and yeah, Basset is GM. Basset. Yeah, fun with that name. So I expect a decent TVZ. This is one of those guys that's, you know, they've been making their way through the qualifiers, and it because the bracket's the easiest. Yes, he's faced most of the people I don't recognize, but it still is something. This seems to be a strong qualifier for the, wow, I'm casting the guy that no one knows, but is going to make it through, and suddenly he's the next great European guy. Terran, Zerg, Protoss, whatever it is, right? Hasn't happened yet, really, but we have had a couple of names that were surprises to make it through. Whether they're the next best European player, yeah, that remains to be seen. So, I'm on board with trying to figure out the new blood of the European scene, which I'm sure other people know more about, but am I so sure? Well, there are players trying to make their mark. Oh, Fusion Core. There are players trying to make their mark by just playing in as many tournaments as possible, and if they don't win much, at least they get the recognition, they get cast. There are still a lot of players who are damn good, but only seriously become contenders in the bigger qualifiers, you know? They look at other qualifiers and they're like, I can't do that. Like the IEM server qualifiers, for instance. You know, they're not trying to infiltrate an NA server, but when it comes to a region-locked European thing, yeah, okay, they'll play. So, can't tell you which side these guys are on. We'll open up a League of Luck, I suppose. But I've already bought enough time to talk about the battlecruiser build that's on the way for InZaNe, so. He is a fan of battlecruisers, and it is the map for it seems. So Basset going for Overlord speed is the best thing I've seen him do so far. Okay. Why isn't that? I guess what would it take me to if I clicked on the upgrades? That was me being dumb. I'm sorry. I almost blamed the WCS overlay. Because that's usually what I do. But yeah, so Overlord speed is going to be very, very helpful. Not only do you see if it's battlecruisers, you also can see if there's an armory, which is very typical paired up with the battlecruiser, and then on top of that, you get to see if it's bio or mech. So that still can be a personal preference. I believe we've seen mostly mech on this map, but then on top of that, oh my god, there's so many things to scout as a Zerg player. You get to see if it's tanks or if it's cyclones. And just because we're getting a tank right now doesn't mean that's going to be tank based. This could be a protection thing, since InZaNe hasn't gotten, you know, full scouting. Yeah, so he saw the roach swarm, but he doesn't know if like a lot of roaches are on the way. A tank is a very safe thing to do when your starport is taking so much damn time building a battle cruiser that you're gonna try to harass with. So no tank, suddenly 8 roaches are at your front door, you're gonna have a problem. So we'll keep an eye on where exactly the factory production goes in for InZaNe, as should Basset. I gave Basset so much credit for the overlord speed. He did get the full scout a little later than I thought he would, to be honest. This was the overlord scout and they just went through, but it looks like he already had some defenses against it. 5 spore crawlers in total, so that's 1 per base plus 1 out in the middle is usually where it would be, and then 1 maybe at the another one at the main. But where are they? Oh, it's almost like, I guess, oh, okay, because probably battlecruiser harassment bounces between these 2 bases. Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, Basset, by the way, also a player on Blazer, who seems to be collecting a lot of up-and-coming European talent. Thank you, Stellated Octopus. What the hell does that mean? Stellated Octopus for the Twitch Prime sub. Hellions do run in, but they're not with an armory, so yeah, and it's probably better against roaches, right, to leave them as Hellions. Otherwise, they get nothing done. So 7 drones traded out for Hellions when you're going for mech is not so bad. It's just, you know, there maybe is a scary point that a Ling Flood could kill this, but Basset's not worrying about attacking. He is strictly defending, which is totally fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. And InZaNe is, you know, getting away with stuff. Even though his battlecruiser isn't doing a ton of damage, he is using it to its best capabilities. You know, it is forcing the queens to pay attention. It's getting some transfuses. It's maybe cleaning up a creep tumor here and there. It's opening up opportunities for the Hellions, and probably most importantly, it's opening up the opportunity to get a 3rd CC without too much hassle. Overlord creep spread aside, which is just finally cleared up. So he's got tanks for protection. He's got supply depots for walls. He's repairing his battle cruisers, of which he has 2, and apparently no more than that. He is still going into tanks, but this is really weird because he's adding on a +1 armor. We should see a swap off to Cyclones, or we should see him... we might be watching a mistake unfold. Okay, there's Cyclones. Yeah, it's like, tanks are not about lasting a long time. They're about dealing a lot of damage. So you would 100% see attack as a priority. Cyclones no longer get an upgrade with +1 mech attack. So if they want an upgrade, it's got to be this one, and it also helps them survive because Cyclones do not survive very long once they're caught. It's a decent little roach run by. Tank wasn't quite in range, so 7 SCVs for what was an earlier 7 drones. Spire's finally done, making 12 corruptors, so this is going to be easy peasy for the battlecruiser cleanup. But as far as, like, usefulness besides that, I don't know. We don't have an infestation pit quite yet. I would love to see one because we are talking about mech here, and a delayed Cyclone mech as well, so it's not like InZaNe's been building Cyclones and he's about to attack with 10 of them with 15 Hellbats. But, okay, there we go. Finally, infestation pit. But, so what he did go for is a particularly greedy 4th base against someone who could push it. And he will have to be careful once the Cyclone count starts to run amok. But the Corruptors take care of the battlecruisers, quote-unquote, by making them teleport away. And they will be able to take care of them, not quote-unquote, by killing them since their teleport's no longer available. And if InZaNe doesn't have a lot of protection for them. But that's where the Cyclones come in. There's a bit of synergy right there, where the Corruptors would love to take out the battlecruisers, just gonna get them out of the way. No more teleport harassment, no more answers to his roaches. But instead, the Cyclones get lock-ons and are very bold with their lock-ons. Corruptors can take quite a beating, but they did have to run back to their roaches. So I don't know how many went down there, like 6? Yeah, you know, to 12, lost 6. Not a bad trade, considering it was a freebie. The Cyclones didn't die. And the roach count is not high enough, fast enough to overwhelm InZaNe, who's already at 170 supply there. with at least one upgrade, so it's looking pretty good. Looks like the Cyclones were mostly an answer to what he assumed was going to be a large roach attack, and we do see certain players really push the battlecruiser agenda, right? You had, I think, a phase reserve players were mostly figuring it out. Pro players were like, okay, this was funny to begin with, but like, stop it, guys. Like, we figured it out. And then we had players who really continued to push for it. Like, I think Soul is also doing a lot of battlecruiser harassment that would find ways to survive some of the attacks that Zergs are doing to make it look stupid. You know, there's a lot of roach overwhelming all-ins that would make battlecruiser rushes look really silly, and now, well... And you had Corruptors who would pop out with roaches that would make them look silly. Now you have the appropriate responses when necessary. So kudos to InZaNe. He is going back into some tanks as well, I think. He's got 3 more factories on the way, and he has +1 attack, so we should see some other factory production. Although I guess that could technically still be for the Hellions. We'll see. I guess it's just good to have second armory. You're on 4 bases, your opponent's on 5 bases, just about. It's about time to start really adding on what you need for the longer macro game. But is there going to be one? Basset adding on some Swarm Hosts was a bit lackluster in their numbers. It was like a, maybe this will be good, question mark, Swarm Hosts. And then it just wasting supply and wasting valuable time to get to that Greater Spire, which is not done. And even if it was, there's still a large air army to deal with what would initially be a low number of Broodlords and a lack of spellcasters. If Basset was already at 14 Broodlords with 2 Vipers, this is a hole. This is, you know, maybe not even a problem. Because InZaNe would be like, well, what the hell? How'd you get that so fast? But without being there, this is a very strong army against what specifically InZaNe has. Swarm Hosts aren't really that helpful, in my opinion, against Cyclones anyways. Cyclone mobility would be able to run around and still do damage, even as a Locust think they're getting good trades. And then on top of that, they're just an awkward number, filling supply that could be... And better things, like Vipers, by the way. Like, just because we don't have Broodlords done yet doesn't mean that we can't make Vipers as a Zerg player, and that would be helpful with a Parasitic Bomb and an Abduct on a Battlecruiser. They would definitely die to the Cyclones. They would be dead. It's all about synergy here, and so far InZaNe was the faster one to get to the better synergy. Basset still trying to buy time for those Broodlords, goes for a fairly desperate run-by, counterattack, whatever you want to call it. Liberators always look so awkward when they miss their siege ups. But that's 2 bases down for what is not even going to be 1 because, well, Terrans left their bases. So even as SCVs go down, that's 5 CCs. Yes, yeah, 5 CCs that can rebuild those. So this is ultimately much better for InZaNe, who's keeping that high supply. Basset, ton of a mineral bank. Not a lot of gas bank, only a couple of Broodlords here. Vikings and Battlecruisers take out the Corruptors that were meant to protect them. And that is going to be game. GG. InZaNe takes game number 1 against the unknown Basset. Basset not dealing with the Battlecruisers poorly, but I think his plan to go for that attack with the Corruptor Roach did throw off what could have been a stronger macro game, because it really didn't work, it didn't do anything, and then he was kept on kind of meh units. Cat's not interested in for the game. He's surrounded by StarCraft all his life. Of course he'll get bored eventually. Ooh, I'm getting a little hungry. Shit. The winner of this goes on to a qualifying match, by the way, as we are reaching the qualifying matches for all of the winners bracket. Parsim's waiting for his opponent in the qualifying match. Marina versus Shadone is happening. That is a French player to the finals. Just a question of Terran or Protoss. This one goes to face Starbuck in the qualifying round, and Xanster is still waiting for Kerr versus Gyarados. This is kind of like Gyarados, but maybe a European pronunciation of same language? Who knows? In the bottom right, up one, it is the green Terran, InZaNe. InZaNe in the brain. In top left is the blue Zerg, it is Basset. And I'm sure InZane's never had his name made fun of like that before. It's like, who chooses to name their kid Annie anymore? Actually, one of my very close friends is Annie Alaris, as you would know her, but still. Who would do that, okay? They get to be made fun of with, like, you know, like little orphan Annie, right? And then they also get that really catchy song, Annie, Are You Okay? By Michael Jackson, / the new version by, ooh, let's see here. I don't know who did the new version. Smooth Criminal. Ant Farm? Alien Ant Farm. Haha. I was getting there. Even before Google gave me the answer. Yes. You always gotta consider these things. It's like you don't want to name your child Ruth either, because then when she's a baby, people are gonna be calling her Baby Ruth, and it'll be funny the first 2 times, and then the next 1 billion times, just to be like, that's funny. It's cool. It's good. Personally, for me, my real name being Jessica, but you guys all should call me ZombieGrub. I get the Mambo number 5, and because of Jessica Jones, I now get a lot of Jessicas, which, yeah, that was a fun period. Also, I usually go by Jess, you know, in the real world, and Jess, like, sounds a lot like other words. So that can be annoying. I seriously consider these things, okay? I used to have to go to babynames.com and find baby names, well, names in general, for, like, my roleplay characters, so these are things I really strongly consider. Samir, why are you talking about this? Because nothing else is happening. Ah! He got the drone this time. And he literally gets the drone. No save with an extractor on that one. So nice little start there for the Reaper. InZaNe, does he go for the battlecruiser shenanigans again here on Port Alexander? It would make the more sense. Port Alexander just sounds like a place you would build battlecruisers. Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. So Basset wants to go for the Overlord Speed, which, again, like, his defense against the battlecruisers wasn't the problem. I think it was the idea of going for that Corruptor Brooch all-in. I mean, it wasn't really all-in. It was attack. Left him with an unideal late-game composition against a growing, very close to late-game composition maxed out. So it really threw off the pacing, because it really did fail really hard as far as maxing out in those units. Roach is being cheap, Corruptor's not so much, and then only, quote-unquote, being on 4 bases, 1 gold. Like, you give Basset another shot against the same build, which is not happening here. We have Banshees and Cloak instead. But if he did, then he might choose to instead go for a 5th base very quickly, and then 80 drones quicker, and probably doesn't even build the Corruptors until he makes them into Broodlords type thing. But we're not going to see the same thing. We're going to have to see how he deals with what is a more typical opener. It's still something that can get out of hand, though, if an armory comes down, and even though he sends his Overlord in to try and see exactly what's going down, he's going to miss the armory going in the natural base, unless he sends something in again. He's making a decent amount of Lings to defend against what he assumes is going to be Hellion harassment, but Lings will not hold against Hellbats. He's going to need something a little bit tougher. okay, he's gonna see it. Alright, so that Overlord comes back in. With only one Marine shooting at it, it was easy enough to get a second full scout. And now InZaNe will first and foremost have his queens in position. 6th queen about to pop out, but he should be bringing the other ones forward. And then also, well, hopefully was starting to build a... Well, I guess it wouldn't have mattered if he built a Roachborn or Balianess at this time. It wouldn't have been ready. This is one of the faster halberd attacks you can do. But his queens weren't quite in position. He didn't actually bring literally all of them because he doesn't have creep spread from here to here. She's coming down now. No, those are the drones that he kept making. As the Armory Scout was just the tiniest little bit late. And he wasn't... It's not like he was pre-set to deal with this anyways, so... Even if it was a little bit earlier, unless it was early enough to build a Roachborn or literally another queen, or 20 more lings, I suppose, it was going to be a problem. And this is a big problem. 12 drones dead, lings dead, queens dead. This was not a strong start for Basset, who I guess was already a decent drone count to begin with, so it's one of those, like, weird... I droned through it all, so I'm still okay. But that is more larvae to go into drones, when really he's hoping to build other things by now. More money as well, of course. Larry's finally on the way, but on the way, so no Overseer to deal with the Banshee unless she gets in range with the Spore Crawler. No forward Spore Crawler either, but one is being built, I guess, for that reason. Hellions just go in as Hellions, and that was a fantastic choice by our Green Terran. As 11 more drones go down, another queen's gonna fall here, another drone's gonna go down. This is just absolutely terrible now for Basset, who's not gonna get a strong mid-game. One thing you say about last game was that it was a strong mid-game, it just was the wrong mid-game to go for. This game, it's going to look rather easy, as InZaNe is going into now Banshees. And it is coming back to me that InZaNe's a bit of a mech player. I think we can say that confidently. So Basset just gonna go for everything you'd expect against a mech player. And to be a little bit optimistic, if you get Vipers and they mess up, which is very possible, you can bring back huge deficits. We saw Raynor do that in some of the IAM qualifiers. And she just went down. I did get a scout on the growing infestation pits. If he clicked on it, it did. If not, that's still a bit of a question mark. But it's a big throwaway if InZaNe loses because a couple of Vipers get a couple of abducts. Because we're not even talking about blinding clouds, where if they're in a hurry to siege their tanks, we've seen large chunks of tanks being taken down by something as simple as 2 blinding clouds. Now, cyclones, blinding cloud can sometimes be helpful, like if they're underneath your broodlord or something like that. They are usually not. You go for abducts, and well, that means you have, you know, more, I suppose, because abducts is cheaper than blinding clouds. It also means they have to kind of get in range, and if you don't have a strong ground army to protect your Vipers, or a lot of Vipers in general, then the cyclones will easy peasy pop those off, and then you won't have Vipers for the future because your economy is still kind of in shambles. Basset just now getting to 56 drones. It's not impressive. 4th base finally on the way. Supply blocked. Everything is starting to really snowball here. 12 Hydras. What are they going to do? A couple of Roaches do find a 4th base, but right as it finishes, bad luck there. Not that it would have gotten a cancel anyways. The army was not that far away. A couple SCVs go down, but now 3 Banshees with that speed upgrade hammering away at the 4th base. This is going to be so difficult to defend against. I guess that's why he built the Hydras, knowing he had to have something a little more mobile to defend, but he doesn't even have the Hydra speed upgrade yet. He has not built more Spore Crawlers, so 3 Banshees could take on 1 Spore Crawler with the Queens here. The point is, they are always, if they're well controlled, always going to be able to escape. The only thing that will chase them down with any reliability is mutas, and even then that's not reliable because they outrange, outspeed, outrun, that's the word. They outrun Overseers even with Overseer speed. So there's a constant thorn in Basset's backside. That infestation pit has been done for a while, but the hive has not started, and it really is all about the Vipers. Even if he was able to max out because he sacrificed the Viper tech and the Hive tech, that still wouldn't be good enough. Although it could be something. You max out against this army and you get a decent surround, and ZaNe's army would fall. But he's not anywhere close to maxed out. He's not set up for a wrap around, or not even set up for a concave quite yet. Lock-ons will go down here, and he should be running away with this army. I mean, that's a lot of Hydras, so even though Blue Flame Hellions, yes, Blue Flame Hellions do damage, it's like, the Hydras do a bit faster. But here the tanks are set up, and now it should be an issue of, yeah, setting the Cyclones forward and then setting them back. Letting the Hellbats do what they do best, which is usually just tank, but in some situations also dealing damage. That is going to be it for the Hydra army. GG. And ZaNe